everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Are We There Yet? Episode Dancing with Myself. I'm your host, Susan Ruth.
And I'm your host, Mara Adelman. And we are two humans having the real conversations and trying to raise all the questions that everybody has about where there really is, as far as it comes to dating, relationships, and sex.
That's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful, but we're going to do it. We're going to help people figure this stuff out. And today we're talking about the big O because it's Masturbation May.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
There's a National Masturbation Day on May 28th. And so if you are not masturbating and have not learned to masturbate, you can always find me on my website. I'll tell you about that later. But if you are masturbating, make sure you get more in May. Revitalize your masturbation practices.
Try something new. If you're always doing toys, try using your fingers. If you've only ever done your fingers, try using toys. Try doing it through breathing. Try doing it by watching something spicy or
looking at TMI, but I only use my toy. And I did that the other day. I used my hand for the first time in years because we're doing all of this talking. I thought I gotta walk the walk. I gotta do things differently.
How was it?
It was actually great and different.
Yeah.
It was totally different.
So different.
Wow.
It's such a different orgasm.
It really is. So
it's fascinating to me how different orgasms are with a partner.
Yep.
With your hand.
Yep.
With a vibrator. I've never been a dildo gal.
No, me either.
So
I want to have the penetration with a real person and then the external, and we're going to talk about that. That's part of the thing. I have so many clients and people say to me, I can't orgasm during sex. And they seem so shameful about it. And I'm like, do you realize only 18% of women can actually have an orgasm with penetration alone? Penetration, I'm such a child. That it doesn't work that way for so many women. Most women need to have the clitoral stimulation at the same time, whether fingers, toy, while having penetration or before foreplay in order to have an orgasm.
Or oral.
Yeah, or oral. And so on that note, how old were you when you had your first orgasm?
Oh my gosh, so young. I started masturbating young. And I have vague recollections, goodness, being around 5 or 6, maybe.
Yeah.
Bathtub situations. Yeah. What a 5 or 6-year-old is doing taking a bath by themselves seems dangerous, but whatever.
Nope, at that age, it's totally okay.
Oh, it's normal? They don't drown?
I do a lot of pediatric work. Totally okay.
Okay. I'm like, is that too young? I don't have kids. Is that too young to bathe a child by itself or a child to bathe by itself?
But that's interesting. So you think you were in the bathtub?
Probably.
Were you using the water jet? Were you that sophisticated at 5? Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
I was like maybe 8 with like stuffed animals and pillows and lots of grinding. You were like, water jet.
Yeah, I was ahead of my time.
Oh,
well, I was ahead of my time. I was like, that warm water feels good. I also, fun fact, get turned on in sunlight.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside in the sun, you get horny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because sun is good for us outdoors.
Yeah, I remember I used to, when my family was gone, I would lay out on our upper deck, buck ass naked in the sun as, young, 10, 11 or whatever, just getting a tan and get super turned on by the sun. It felt like I was being, stroked by sun rays. Very hot, literally.
That age is, so how old were you when you had your first partnered orgasm?
First partnered orgasm, I was 18.
So, and when did you start having sex?
18.
Okay, you are one lucky girl because I started having sex at 13, which we'll talk about later. It was looking back too early, but it happened because I was horny as hell and that seemed like the thing to do. So, but I was 13 when I had my first sex, and I was like 18 when I had my first partnered orgasm because I didn't understand the mechanics of how to make that happen.
I don't think my parents ever talked about orgasm with me. I got the sex talk really early age. I don't recall, and I maybe just don't remember that anyone talked about orgasm because I remember the first time I had sex, I thought, wow, this is super messy. What is happening? I had no clue that the sheets were going to get all sticky and that there'll be some blood because it was my first time and then like the semen, all that stuff. No one prepared me for that. And so when my boyfriend, who was much older than I, was in the bathroom, I had a panic oh my gosh, something's wrong. Why is there this mess? And, stripped the bed, threw it in the laundry, quickly remade the bed. I'm sure he came back and thought, well, what's happening? I'm sure he had lots of sex before me. He knew I was a virgin too. So he was, very good about all that kind of stuff.
Should have put a towel down for you then. Then you wouldn't have.
I didn't know, I didn't know it. And I'll have sex on my period now. Not that I've had sex in a million years, but which is hilarious. All I do is have self-pleasure. But I'll put it I have no problems having sex on my period. That doesn't bother me at all.
But back then you made a valid point. Nobody talked to us about this.
No.
Same thing. But looking back, my first boyfriend was fairly well endowed. Nobody talked to me about any of this stuff. And I really wanted to have sex because we'd had so much foreplay. And he had me get on top, which seemed weird at the time, but it was actually probably good that I had some control over the situation. But I remembered we knocked over a glass of water and I was thinking, oh, good, I'm going to get up and get that because I need a break from this. Because it wasn't very comfortable and there was the blood. And there wasn't orgasms. And so it wasn't as pleasurable as I had assumed it would be, right? Because
nobody prepares you for the different sizes and shapes.
No.
And all of that.
And on that note, I came up with a bunch of gaps. Here's the problem. I gotta look at my notes here. So this is a formula of doom, if you ask me, to women being able to have more orgasms. There's the masturbation gap, which I'll tell you, the orgasm gap, the education gap, and they all lead to the sex gap. So the masturbation gap, teen boys, how cool is it for a teen boy to masturbate? American, what was the American Pie movie? Yeah. Even with a pie, it's okay to masturbate.
Some of my guy friends have told me any number of ways to get off that they could put their penis in to,
And it's not as frowned upon, right?
Right.
Now, as women, how many movies, how many talks, anybody talking about a female masturbating? It doesn't happen. So that's annoying.
Other than one time at band camp.
I forgot about that one. That's a good one. And then you add to that kind of essentially women being taught that pleasure is bad. Again, don't touch yourself because it's bad. And men
also get that. They also get that.
They do, huh? I guess I've never thought about the fact. Yes, I take that back. You are correct. I had a Hispanic male who was living here. His wife was in Mexico and he was having horrible testicle pain. And it turned out he hadn't had an orgasm in like 4 years because he hadn't seen his wife and he didn't masturbate and he was not having sex with anybody else. And I finally realized, oh, I think you need to masturbate. And he was mortified by the idea.
Yeah.
So I forget these things because again, I'm coming from my
there's religious upbringings. There's just, sex upbringing. There's so many different layers of that.
But I feel like focusing right now, I want to focus on the women because we're less likely to get to have orgasms. And so the problem is you add that to the orgasm gap, which essentially is men take about an average of 4 to 6 minutes to have an orgasm. Women are anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes with an average of 15 to 20. So how is that going to line up if there's not sufficient foreplay, getting in your feminine energy like we talked about last time, foreplay? I've heard you don't have that problem though. Tell me all about that.
I am able to get, into that space pretty easily. I have an incredibly active imagination as well, though. When I masturbate, I'll reach orgasm within 2 minutes, 4 minutes, maybe tops, depending on what I'm thinking about.
Every single time, or is there times where your brain is not in?
Nearly every single time. I have to be really tired to be thinking, oh, even I'm too tired for this right now.
If you're with somebody, how long?
Maybe a few minutes longer, especially if we know each other's bodies well enough. Oral sex, I can come pretty quickly if they're paying attention and I'm paying attention. And the important thing, I think, for that, when you have a partner and you're trying to reach orgasm, is to say that feels good, that doesn't feel good.
Yes.
And not in a condescending way, but in a, wow, that feels great, or maybe a little to the left, or whatever, or put fingers in me now, or take your fingers out of me now, or put them in, take them out, whatever it is.
Well, we had talked about radical honesty. That applies to the bedroom too.
Yeah. And to also be in a headspace, we've talked about this before, to be in a headspace, maybe even to ahead of time. Like if you're going to be with your partner, if it turns you on, maybe watch something a little racy or think about your favorite celebrity or whatever it is, or pleasure yourself a little bit in the bathroom for a minute. But I do think it's important to talk with your partner and say, hey, I need a little bit more time if I need it, or whatever it is. Also, to not be scared to bring in toys. I had a boyfriend once who got insulted when I suggested, oh, let's bring a vibrator into this action. And he felt like I was maligning his sexual prowess.
So many clients tell me I had to go buy the inconspicuous one because the big one that looks like a penis made my boyfriend really mad. But this goes to the education part. So like you said, taking the time for yourself, right? Get ready, get your brain in. But men are mostly learning how to have sex by watching porn.
I know.
How much porn have you seen? It's male driven. Porn. Male gets a blowjob. Male gets a blowjob. Man touches female for 2 seconds, and now you're having sex. And then the woman's pretending to orgasm. So that's the education gap part, where the men, they're just not, they don't know better. I
had sex with a guy once, and I knew that all he did was watch porn, because every action, I felt like I could have just been a blow-up doll, honestly. It was weird because he was a great kisser. We had great making out. And then when it came to sex, it was very much like I could have not even been there, really. Is sort of doing all the things to the point where I was trying not to laugh because it seemed so ridiculous. I didn't want to insult him or anything like that. I understood that was where he was coming from, so to speak, but it was weird. I thought, God, this guy is so not in his body right now. He's just not present in his body because he's going through this thing of what he thinks is supposed to be the thing that is sex.
And that's a lot of expectation to put on a man too.
It's so much expectation.
Porn stars go for 30 minutes, and men can go for 30 minutes, but the average is like lower than that. So it's not.
I wouldn't want a guy to go for 30 minutes. It would be chafy. That would be a lot.
A lot of chafing, but I do, as a woman who takes a lot longer to orgasm than you do, I do appreciate the warm up, the flirting, the more foreplay. And if they last, and yeah, also, I don't always have to have an orgasm. Sometimes I'm just okay with good old fashioned sex, especially because I don't orgasm as easy. If I know my brain's not going to get into it, that's fine. But there's a lot of women, because of all these gaps. I talk to people who have never had an orgasm. They don't know how to, and their partner doesn't know how to help them. And so, and then there's that thought, I sometimes wonder if men think if a woman is slightly wet, they're ready to go. Like when they're hard, they're ready to go. But neither of those things hold true, because a lot of men with erectile dysfunction, they might not be completely hard, but they might be ready to go. And women, just because they're slightly wet does not mean they're truly ready to go. And so again, education, conversations. Yeah,
absolutely. I heard, I don't know if it was on a sex TikTok thing, but the woman was talking about how if you put your penis inside of a woman, or if you're using a dildo, let's say you don't have a penis, but you're being penetrative with a woman. And if you're feeling like it's too tight, a woman is not too tight for the object. She's not ready. That's the thing.
She's not lubricated enough, or she's not ready enough.
Yeah.
Well, what was that skit? Remember the skit where they were asking the men to identify the clit on a diagram?
Oh, it wasn't a skit. It was real life. These researchers were walking around with a model of a vagina and the outer and inner parts, the whole genitalia, and no man that they asked could identify where the clitoris was. None of them. Nobody knew. They were pointing all over the place. And I'm sure they probably, to be funny, edited out the few people like right there or in there or whatever. But yeah, they were mostly had no clue. And men will joke about that. I have guy friends that joke about that. Like, oh, who knows where it is? Like, well, you should probably figure it out. You have one too, by the way.
I feel like they should figure it out. So
men have that area on them as well, or people with penises. I feel bad. I keep saying men, but
I know
those who have penises also have the gland is that part that's super sensitive.
Oh, you're talking the frenulum?
Is that what it's called?
At the head of the penis where the little
that part.
The frenulum is super sensitive area.
Yeah.
But we are actually luckier than that as women. This is hilarious. There's expensive models, and when I used to eat meat, I kept the wishbone out of a chicken. But this essentially is what's inside of us, and it's like much larger. Most people only think you've got this little button here, the clitoral head with the hood. these legs go all the way around and inside. And so when stimulated appropriately, these legs actually swell up and can help aid an orgasm. And this thing has 8,000 nerve endings.
It's crazy.
Right? A circumcised male only has 4,000. So we're ahead of the game, but we're still not having as many orgasms because nobody's understanding what this does. And so I personally think, it's the only organ in our entire bodies that's only made for pleasure. We should understand it better.
I had a boyfriend once, and God bless him, he kept up on all the literature. he was really, we obviously ended up not staying together, but he was really great. And if you're listening, you know who you are. He was really great about reading up on stuff, keeping in the know. He was fantastic at oral sex.
Yes.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Right?
Yeah.
I've had one of those too, where it was like, wow, you know what to do with your hands and your mouth. Oh, and I went on a date with this guy. We're friends, but he was funny. He was like, I have 100% track record of being able to make women squirt with oral sex. And I was half tempted to let him try just to see if I could too. Because there's the clitoral, the clitoral, I never know which way, clitoral. It
doesn't matter to me. Save either way. I
tend to switch back and forth. You can have an orgasm there, but you can also have a G-spot orgasm, which is in and up, and there's a spongy material. And then a lot of women will have squirting with that. Have you ever squirted?
I have never squirted. I don't know that I need to do that in my life. It seems messy.
It is messy. So it's happened to me twice over the years. And both times I was much younger and I thought I peed on him. And essentially there is a little bit of pee in there, but it's also got a little bit of, some women actually have some PSA hormone, which is the same thing that is in the prostate gland. And so they call these little Skene's glands that are letting this fluid out, like the women's prostate. And so some women, I saw this video where this woman could squirt a bucket full. Now, again, you're right. It's messy. I don't want to do that, but I was kind of tempted to try just to see if I could.
And you did? You could?
No, I didn't. Well, because right now I don't want to have sex unless I have that great connection. So,
but have you masturbated to squirting?
Oh, no, I squirted twice with different partners throughout my life, 2 different partners. One, he was on top and it just happened and he was grossed out. It was funny. I was like, sorry, I don't know what just happened. Another one, I was on top. I think sometimes it's the angle of the penis that does it.
Yeah.
But again, I would like to do it in my adult life now that I know what it is. So if it ever happens, I can have the full experience.
The other thing I think that is important to note also is that the first few times you have sex with someone, you're really learning each other's bodies. It may be that nothing really big and dynamic happens, and that's okay too.
Very true. And for men too. I've had sex with men who couldn't.
That's what I'm saying, for both. Yeah.
For both. Yeah, for both.
Yeah.
You're nervous because it wasn't the right, whatever, right?
And that's the thing too, men, I feel like they get shamed all sorts of leftwise and Sundays for all numerous things about sex, and they have a lot of shame around that. At least women, there's like a million Cosmo articles talking about how to orgasm, what does it mean, how to be turned on, all that stuff. And I think Men's Health does it a little bit, and maybe Maxim, but for the most part, I don't know that a lot of discussion in the zeitgeist happens.
That's a good point. Like we talked about when we did our podcast about the feminine masculine energy, it's not fair that they don't have the outlet to have all these conversations like we do as much.
Mm-hmm. It's getting better. There's a million podcasts probably with men talking about this stuff. I hope it's more out there.
But I can't help but to take it back to women, because remember in the book, The Pussy Reclamation, what was the saying? Women learned how to compromise before they learned how to come. And so again, we are the gender that is least likely to have an orgasm. So I keep kind of taking it back to there, because I want everybody to have happy orgasms, because it all leads back to the same thing. If we can fix all these education gaps and all of these things, well, then the sex gap, which is generalizing again, but more men saying, I don't get the amount of sex I want, and women saying, I don't feel like sex, might be fixed. And especially if men are having fabulous orgasms, they might want more sex.
It does help.
It does help, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Again, speaking from 2 women who are choosing not to have sex right now.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's such an interesting, ridiculous act too. I dated a much younger guy once, and he didn't have a lot of experience. And He was over 18, by the way. And
oh, was that just to protect yourself?
yeah, I said much younger. As I thought, oh, I should
But he
mention
was
that.
legal. He was legal.
He was legal. But I said to him, I said, you know, the great thing about sex is that it is so many things. It's ridiculous. It's sexy. It's, you know, hilarious. It's gross.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
funny. You know, it's like, it's all the things. It's shy. It's intimate. It's vulnerable. It's wild and crazy. It's all the things.
All the things.
And you have to have a sense of humor, I think, about it.
Communicate about it, like you said before.
Yeah, because man, some strange noises can happen sometimes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And then if you have shame around that, it's just gonna shut it all down.
We're gonna
everybody queefs.
Everybody queefs. Are you gonna write a song for me?
I'll write you that song.
I do think that hopefully we will help normalize some of this stuff for people, right?
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any shame around any of it, but I want women having more orgasms. The amount of women, I also work with a lot of Hispanic patients at my clinic, have never had an orgasm. And I try to explain. And so, yeah, I did write down, I have some tips for women who want to try, who haven't. We'll have to link this, but there's my favorite, besides us, my favorite sex podcast is Sex with Emily. She's been doing it for 15 years and we'll get there someday. So if you go to sexwithemily.com, she has a bunch of lists of like sex toys, sex tips. For people that have never bought toys, it's probably pretty daunting, but I do feel like sometimes it's, if somebody's having a hard time manually with their hands, get some toys, try it by yourself first before you try it with your partner, and then introducing it with your partner and explaining to them, educating them that only 18% of women can do this, honey. You're not broken that you can't make me come with your penis. I need to have the clitoral stimulation along with that. And so if they're educated, then maybe they're going to be less pissed off about the toys in the bed, right?
Maybe so.
I never
Again, it's a communication.
I had a guy that drug all the toys into the bed. So, you know.
Yeah, I think everybody's different. And there are also, if you're shy about going into a sex toy shop, there are a lot of online retailers now. So that can be more, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Not secretive, but not secretive, but
less daunting, less
God, there's a word for it. It's right on the tip of my tongue. No pun intended.
Stigma.
Yeah, well, that comes in a little brown paper sack. So you kind of thing.
Anonymous.
Huh? Yeah, anonymous.
I feel like we're playing like charades.
I could not get the word. Yes. So there are, and be creative and be adventurous and set aside a little time for yourself and enjoy. And you know, that's the thing, is you're an amalgamation of all these different body parts. And also everyone, boy or girl, non-binary, whatever you identify as, there are a million spots on a body.
I know.
Don't just be like titties, pussy, penis, balls, butt, whatever. There's like back of the knees, back of my neck, highly sensitive. Don't stick your tongue in my ear, grosses me out. But yeah, I don't like it.
My
but,
dog,
you know,
my dog is allowed to do it. My dog does it to me all the time.
Your skin is hypersensitive. I mean, just a light brushing, that kind of thing. And also fantasize. Be okay with thinking you're not wrong. Anything you're thinking about, you know, it's okay. It's fantasy. You're not going to act it out. You know, it's okay.
We'll have to do a whole
when I'm masturbating, what I like to do is I can imagine, my whole body reacts to it. I can imagine penetration. I can feel it. So once that happens, I sort of play with myself while I'm playing with myself, and that I tease myself with my imaginary penetration. Ooh. I can feel like just the tip game, play that with myself, all that stuff in my mind.
Wow. I'm gonna work on my imagination.
It's like, woo. And then when I'm going over the edge, it's like penetration. As soon as that plunge happens in my mind, I'm gone.
I obviously
like in real life.
I'm gonna work on my imagination, Miss Susan, because I want to be able to do that.
Yeah, everybody can do it, I think.
Well, I do. So yes, I do. Back to that thing you were saying about the sex toys, make sure that you're getting them from somebody reputable online. There were
Discreet is the word.
Discreet. It's anonymous sex toy shows up at your door.
Discreet.
It was a very discreet packaging, but make sure there was like a lot of knockoffs and stuff from China that have chemicals in them.
Oh yeah.
So you want to make sure you're getting it from somebody reputable, because your skin down there also absorbs chemicals. You want to make sure that it's a safe product.
Yeah, and don't put peanut butter in there. Don't put whipped cream, no dairy. Honey is gynecologically okay, but they make specialty things that are okay gynecologically to stick in there. And same with your anus. It's like, don't just put stuff in there willy-nilly.
Get a really good lube. There's a Good Clean Fun is an organic lubricant. And actually using lubricant to masturbate or with a partner is going to increase your odds of an orgasm. Yeah. There was something, what was it? I'm forgetting. It's okay. It was something to do with helping people have better orgasms. But I do think that the more people talk about it in relationships, the better sex they will have.
In that pussy reclamation book that we talked about in the first episode, and just now also, that she talked about lying next to your partner with just your hand cupping the genitalia, not doing anything at all, and just talking with the hand cupping the genitalia and really connecting to that space.
Right.
Because we treat that space like we treat our genitalia like it exists outside of ourselves so much.
Like separate and taboo.
Getting in touch with that space is important, I think.
Yes, as well as, that's what my thought had come back to me. You were talking about fantasies. Eventually we'll have to do a podcast on it, but actually being able to share your fantasies with your partner and then acting them out definitely adds to orgasm. Yeah,
but you don't have to share them all. But yeah, absolutely.
And mutual masturbation. You were talking about the cupping. So actually for women who have had a hard time orgasming, if you do mutual masturbation, it might be a safe way to learn how to do it together, showing them what you like.
Yeah. And there are people out there that will show you how to find pleasure as well. There are professional sex therapists who will help you map your own genitalia and figure out what feels good. And we'll have something like that on the show, I think. After we get the first few episodes up and running and going, we'll start bringing in guests. This is something that we're both decided we were gonna,
Yes. So would that be like a somatic coach that actually does some somatic coaches
called? I just know they exist.
Some somatic coaches do and some don't, as far as the hands-on part. But there are hands-on people that will help people who have issues with their sexuality.
Yeah, I've interviewed a few of them on Hey Human. I don't know that I remember what their technical names are. So yeah, but it seems like fascinating work.
Oh, it would be. I actually put on my website though, I put no hands-on work because I had somebody be like, oh, is that something that you do? I was like, no. But on that note, if anybody needs help, like learning how to process some of this stuff, you can go to my website at lovecoachmara.com or send me an email at lovecoachmara@gmail.com. Yeah, whatever. Email me, reach out if you have questions. I've helped a couple people have their first orgasms. That's fun.
That's exciting.
I mean, again, not hands-on. Giving hands-on. Giving instructions through coaching, and they were able to go have an orgasm. So that's exciting.
Awesome.
I know, right? And then next week, we're going to talk about safety and dating. Susan and I were talking about how we've both had a lot of experience with online dating, in-person dating. And I was worried about throwing out all of this. We're doing all this dating without giving people tips about how to stay really safe in doing that. So we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tell all your friends to listen, family, kids, if you're responsible to discuss stuff afterwards. Sure, why not?
Teenagers. I mean, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to learn it from porn, and we know what that leads to.
Yeah. It's not as fun.
Not as fun, no.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Mara. You're awesome. I love you. And
amazing. I love you too.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Have some orgasms this month, people.
Yay. Bye.